Hey, I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my weekly or bi-weekly Leica talks, all things Leica. So today I want to talk about the 50 millimeter Summicron. It's not the exotic 0.9. It's not an exotic 1.4. It's an f2. The Summicron, that's what it means. It's an f2 lens. All the Summicrons by Leica, that's what the designation stands for. This is an older 50 Summicron. You can see it's not in perfect shape. It's kind of got a little bit of worn edges, which is perfectly fine because the glass is clean. I'm not a big filter fan, but I keep a filter on this so I don't have to use a lens cap. And the lens is in clean shape. And as long as the lens is in clean shape, the filter goes on. I don't need a lens cap, and it's ready to go. It's got this little short rubber strap that I picked up somewhere along the way. It's kind of interesting with a little bit of red accent. But the point is, it's not a perfect camera. Look, it's missing a bit of leather in the corner. It's definitely a camera that's been well used, and I continue to make it well used. And it's a 53.5 that, or it's a 50 f2 with a M3 with a 50 frame line that I can't quite see the whole viewfinder, but I can almost see it. I can really see it well when I put a diopter on, then I can really see it because I can see things past the edges. But with it, I can see the whole viewfinder just about. And I'd have to say, having shot with that Nikon S4, which has the whole viewfinder available, this one's kind of close. This one's kind of tight just like it, but I've always felt like I couldn't see the whole finder on this. As much as everybody loves the M3 finder, for me with glasses, I always felt like I wasn't quite seeing all the edges. I had to move around a little bit. But when I compare it to what the Nikon shows me, it's almost identical as far as I can see. I think the Nikon, I can see the whole thing and I don't have to get quite so close. This one I risk scratching my glasses because it's got a eyepiece that's plastic and it doesn't necessarily have any protection for glasses. And I did buy a little eye cup thing called a Cyclops or something from the same people who make the Match Technical thumbs up, and I didn't like it at all. It was too big and it stuck out too far, and by the time it was sticking out, it's so dense rubber I couldn't see the whole frame anyway. But this would be, I would say, the kind of camera, this is a user camera. The lens isn't in perfect shape. It's got some rough edges. When you put it in your bag, you might find some, you put it in your pocket, you might find some of these little bits peeling off some more than they do. And I don't worry about it. It's just a user camera. I always say, try to use these cameras up and just keep using them. They just want to work. Let's make sure there's no film. Oh, there's film in it. So I just advanced it. It must have been advanced. I've got this little, I think, in like, sometimes when I find sales and I find cameras, I find accessories on them. I think this screw-in shutter release, which I really like, it's not a cheap plastic one. It's actually a pretty heavy metal one. It was made back in the day. And I like that on that. That makes for a nice shutter release. And it matches the camera well. This isn't, again, necessarily a camera that I would say is the one that the collector would want. This is the camera that everybody would want because they'd have to go replace that. But I'd rather put that money into film until it really bugs me. If this whole thing looked like that, I definitely would get it done. But at the moment, my hand's over that and I just don't see it. I don't notice it. I'm not looking for, when I'm buying cameras, I'm not looking for beautiful. In fact, I would suggest you don't want a beautiful camera. A beautiful camera is one that you will not take out. You'll be afraid to take it out. A beautiful camera you're going to keep capped, you're going to put it in a case, you're going to constantly be putting it away because it's so beautiful, I got to maintain it. And you aren't going to make photographs with a camera in a case all wrapped up and tucked away. This camera is just easy to go with. It's a simple, take anywhere, 50 f2 lens. This though will cost you, I traded for this lens. I had a old Mamiya 6x7 camera that somebody was interested in, and I traded for this lens. So it was like wasn't a cash deal at all. And if you're ever looking for gear, you might ask the people who are selling, well, what are you looking for? Maybe I have something. I had a 6x7 camera I never used, and I'm like, maybe I'll sell that, or maybe do you want to trade that? That would be good. And this camera came a long time ago, and it's just been used and used and used. It's got scratch marks all over it. It doesn't have any of the qualities that, somebody who wants perfection in their M3 would want. It's kind of got all the things that you say, oh no, it's not perfect at all. But, you look at that lens barrel, it doesn't look completely clean. It's got scratches on it. It looks like it's been worn. But what does that matter? Have you seen Walker Evans's camera? It's in a museum, and it's got brassing all over it, and it's all kind of worn. They just work. Cameras work. We have to treat them as devices for capturing memories, not objects of art that we're afraid to touch. And if you're not sure what one to get the user type. Get the one with the missing leather. And at some point, you could put a little piece of gaffer tape over that, and I might do that. And just to protect it from having any more of the leather break off. And that might seem sacrilegious. But again, these cameras weren't made to be idolized. They were made to make photographs. And they do that really well. But they have to be in your hand, ready to go, shutter speed ready, aperture set. You're ready to go make photographs. You set this camera at 12 feet, putting it down here at 12 feet, and you put it at f8, and you 250, or let's say 250 f11, my outdoor setting for anything outdoor, if it's a sunny day. I could just go around, point and shoot all day long. This is a guaranteed camera that will get you in focus street photos if you want to shoot street on film, because it's such a simple setup. 12 feet, 250 f11, and just point and shoot. Anything you look at, it's going to be in focus. Now, if it's a speeding Plymouth Barracuda going down the road, you might want to go with a little bit of a faster shutter speed and start working with combinations of 500 f8. But if you want to just shoot it as a point and shoot camera, that's the way they used to use these cameras. These cameras weren't cameras that they were constantly focusing. They were focusing, if they had to critically focus at f2, they were inside. But if they were shooting outside, that's why most street photos, you don't see shallow depth of field. They weren't looking for shallow depth of field. They were looking for players in context, people in their environment doing what they do. And that's what this camera, with all of its beat up qualities, is perfectly set up for. Ready to go. Just use it. Try to use it up. You can. All right, that's today's photography talk. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. If you can support it, the Patreon. Thanks so much to all my subscribers. And I will be back next time. We'll talk more Leica photography. As always, here's the good light.